Ancient Egyptian culture appeals to our culture in ways that other civilizations do not for a multitude of reasons. First, the establishment of the sacred picture writing of the hieroglyphics, a combination of logographic and alphabetic elements, was an amazing way for the Egyptians to begin their system of communication. The Rosetta Stone, a decree inscribed in 3 languages, allows us to compare hieroglyph, Demotic script, and Greek. Among their amazing artwork is the palette of King Narmer from the pre-dynastic period, a relief which depicts the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. The back of the palette depicts the king wearing the high bowling pin-shaped crown of Upper Egypt, and Horus, the falcon god, taking captive a man-headed hieroglyph with a papyrus plant growing from it, which stands for the land of Lower Egypt. On the front of the palette, another possible reference to the unification can be seen in the intertwined necks of the animals. Our text mentions that it is a kind of blueprint for the formula for figure representation that characterized most Egyptian art for more than 3,000 years. Narmer's palette is the earliest existing labeled work of historical art. In addition, the astounding mural paintings found within Tomb 100 were also from the pre-dynastic period. They formed a frieze running around 3 adjacent walls and depicted a funerary scene with stick figures similar to the Neolithic paintings at Katel Hayuk. One of the heraldic groups, consisting of a man striking 3 prisoners with a mace, is said to be characteristically Egyptian. The mural portrays 1 black and 5 white boats, which is symbolic of the journey down the river of life and death. Here is where we can see the first evidence of the obsession that Egyptians had with death and the afterlife. From the Old Kingdom came many extraordinary sculptures, including Khafre enthroned. These sculptures were created with flawless bodies and perfect faces for ideal proportions to represent the god kings. The purpose was to display their divine nature and to sculpt them in such a way that they would last for eternity. What is perhaps more modern looking is the sculpture of the seated scribe. The sensitive details used to create the man's lifelike face and body form allow the statue to emanate a personality. Although the natural features of the sculpture are attributed to his lower status and importance, the realism is a refreshing change from the preceding sculptures of royalty. The Middle Kingdom produced great works such as the fragmentary head of Senusret III, which brought about a sharp break from Old Kingdom sculptures of royalty. As previously mentioned, the typical sculptures of the god kings consisted of perfect faces and proportions, lacking any realism. Conversely, many of Senusret III's preserved statues display realistic facial features which make the art more personal. Specifically, the head displays a sad, almost defeated-looking expression. As the Middle Kingdom was a time of much turmoil, many believe that Senusret III's negative demeanor embodies the dominant mood of the time. The artwork of the New Kingdom is no less impressive than what had previously been created. The most famous work from this time is the innermost coffin of Tutankhamun, found in his tomb at Thebes. Made of about 1/4 ton of gold and inlaid with semi-precious stones, it is one of the most miraculous sculptures in history. Even though Tutankhamun was not a major figure of Egyptian history and died only in his teens, the encasing of his mummy implies an air of royalty and wealth. In addition to the artistic achievements of the ancient Egyptians, their contribution to architecture is highly significant. The pre-dynastic period was characterized by the mastaba tombs, which had underground burial chambers and rooms containing portrait statues and offerings to the deceased. The stepped pyramid and mortuary precinct of Djoser bears underground burial chambers to be the god king's new home in the afterlife. The Old Kingdom produced the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the Great Pyramids. Without a doubt, the greatest work of the Egyptians can be seen in the Pyramids of Giza. They display the advancement of the civilization through their precise symmetry. Without modern tools, it is amazing that they were able to complete the scientific construction of the 4 perfect right angles and apply such heightened engineering and mathematical knowledge. Furthermore, the use of relieving blocks above the hollow chambers to prevent the collapse of the weight from above speaks to the sophistication of the civilization. The Egyptians not only built the pyramids as grandiose tombs, but also as a way of honoring Ra, the sun god. They believed that the great height of the pyramids would help them get closer to their god. The Egyptians were fascinated with death, specifically the afterlife, and thus most of their monuments were constructed as a way to preserve the spirit, or ka, of the person. The grandness of the pyramids, the complexity of the construction, and the dedication that must have been behind the workforce speaks to the devotion that the Egyptians held for their gods. While the pyramids were built to house human spirits, they were also a sumptuous way to honor their creator. Upon considering an iconic structure that would represent our civilization in 4,000 years, our group came up with a few different ideas. We considered the impression of the Statue of Liberty, how it's an icon of freedom and of the United States as a whole. As it was built in France and given as a gift to the United States, we took into account what people will think of this grand gesture in the future. We regarded the Taj Mahal, one of the world's most celebrated structures and a symbol of India's rich history. Combining elements from multiple architectural styles, it demonstrates the influence that countries have on each other and from all over the world. The Eiffel Tower was another structure that came to mind, as it is one of the most recognizable structures in the world. After some debate, we all agreed that in 4,000 years, our civilization will be represented more by the colonization of another planet than by a certain structure. Our society has made tremendous strides in regards to the exploration of space, from the creation of satellites and space stations to the landing of the man on the moon. The past 50 years have demonstrated what mankind is capable of. In addition, after all that has been accomplished in those years, one can only imagine where we will be in 4,000. Mars One, which is attempting to establish permanent settlement on Mars, shows the potential of how far we can go, literally. The colonization of another planet has the ability to represent the hard work, dedication, and limitless abilities of mankind today.